Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And on this episode, we come to you with Yuletime tidings, everyone. Why are you giggling at me, John? That's an appropriate sentence.
Sure. Like, we'll go with that's an appropriate sentence. Yuletide tidings.
Yuletime tidings. It's a time of Yule.
Okay, but like Christmas version of Darktide, Yuletide, would be pretty funny.
All right, I'd play it. Like, I'd play that patch today. But as we record this, it is a week before the holidays hit. And it is going to upload when you guys might be listening to this on Christmas Day. So we thought it would be just a crying shame if we did not take this upload schedule and this opportunity to make ourselves a little holiday episode over here. We briefly debated shouting angry homophobic rants at a dinner table to kind of simulate what a Kentucky Christmas with your family is like. And then, you know, we both had to process we both had to process a lot of deep feelings. And then just decide to do something less terrible. Yeah, we want to instead take this time to look forward to next year and what we want from Wargaming Santa. But first, hobby time.
What a good boy. Where's my treat?
What treaties do I get in the bag? Hobby time. Games played. All right, John, you're up first in this here holiday season. What you been up to?
So, I have gotten one game in before I ended up going, for lots of reasons, to the desolate land of Ohio.
God, there's nothing up there. Nothing.
Yeah,
They don't even have hills.
I got in a game with Tanner, which is World Leaders vs. AdMech, of our escalation campaign.
Mm-hmm.
To Contemptor Dreadnought. It was a lot of fun. Tanner won, but it was closer than expected. I'm waiting with bated breath for the new World Leaders book to completely change how I'm playing that army.
I mean, it'll be dropping soon. I mean, a couple weeks, probably.
Yeah. And since I am in Ohio, I don't have my painting stuff, so I'm falling behind on hobby, but it's all right. Once I free myself from the grasp of Ohio, it will be fine.
It's going to try to keep you there, John. That's how it works.
It is a labyrinthian nightmare.
It will always hunger for souls, and it will do its best to keep you there in an apathy-wrapped blanket.
Yes, and for any of you listeners that live in Ohio, I apologize. I'm sorry. But at least you have a sheets.
If you're in Kentucky, we're sorry, and you get Buc-ee's. If you're in Ohio, you get sheets.
The thing is with the Buc-ee's in Kentucky is there's one. There's a million sheets out here. Like, you throw a stone and there's a sheets. Like, I came back to the town I went to high school in. I haven't been here in 6 years, 7 years. And in that time period, there's been 17 housing developments and 4 sheets.
Good Lord.
In the 3-city area. And I'm like, what the hell?
What? I mean, I understand housing developments because there's a housing crisis, but a bunch of sheets? All right. You can have your cool gas station. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you get the Bengals, right?
That's true.
Northern Kentucky gets the Bengals.
It's true. It's true.
I don't know shit about football though, so
Actually, the Bengals has been a shit team to root for my entire life. But last year we made it all the way to the Super Bowl and almost won it. And this year we're looking to be potential Super Bowl favorites. But that's really going to depend on if we could beat Baltimore here in January. So we're looking good. We had a real crap start to the season. It was embarrassing. And then all of a sudden, we kind of turned it on. And what do you know? If you take this incredible quarterback and you give him more than a second to try to make a play in the pocket, he's pretty good. Who could have thunked it?
stay tuned for more football meets wargaming analogies for the rest of this episode. What about you? What's your hobby looking like, Joe?
I have had a decent hobby time. I will say it hasn't been as packed as I might have sometimes liked it because of the holiday sort of preparations. And also I'm planning a big old birthday party for my wife in like the first weekend of January. So I've been double busy trying to plan stuff. But despite that, I've gotten a couple of games in. I played 2 games of Tau versus Death Guard with my buddy Jake. Those were interesting. The first game we called at the bottom of turn 2. Was
it because of the Riptide?
Not bottom, sorry, bottom of turn 1. And yeah, there was a Riptide in these. The Riptide is not what won them, but there was a Riptide. Yeah, essentially, like in our group, there were some people who have had a bad experience with Riptides in the past. Well, you know, these things look kind of like glorified dreadnoughts, but all right, I'll test it first. So played Jake, and the first game we had objectives that were like opposite corners of the table from each other, and he sort of tentatively moved up towards both of them. And then I got my first turn, and then using Tau overwhelming speed, ran up on both objectives, blew off both like objective holders with crisis suits and commander, as well as breachers. And the Riptide helped some, but like it did not do the work. And very quickly we went, oh god, this is over already. Yeah, this was over at deployment. All right, let's re-rack it. And then played a much more cagey second game.
Sometimes that just happens. Like sometimes one person deploys in a way and the other person deploys perfectly, and you just go, oh yeah, this game's over. Like we've had that happen multiple times.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a thing. And it was no big deal. Like once we realized what had happened, I mean, he is playing a slow-moving army and made like a minor mistake in deployment that just unfortunately cost him the game at 1,000 points.
I mean, you just don't have to play it out. You can be like, we're going to re-rack this. Like this is going to be like an exercise in futility for 2 hours. Let's just change it up.
Yeah, so we did. We changed game mode, like the battle plan. That's the word I'm thinking of. Don't mind me just having a strunk. But we changed battle plan, and he changed up his army some, and we played a second game. And that one was much closer. But after 3 or 4 turns, I ended up winning. But man, Death Guard Demon Prince, hard to kill. Pretty good. The Riptide shot it over and over and over. So did like a railgun broadside. Did not kill it. You know what killed it? The unit of 3 crisis suits. Holy cow. They're good. They're very, very spicy. But it was fun to play Tau and get some outings there. I also had a league match for my A Song of Ice and Fire League. That's been going on for a little while. We're coming towards the end of the league, but so far I'm running 3-1, which is shocking considering I'm probably the newest player there. But did really well. Went up against a shop owner who is running 3 dragons in their list, and I have never fought even 1 dragon, so I had to learn fast how exactly to not get eaten alive by dragons. And and Khal Drogo, that was who was on the table, like actually as their general, so it was a very fast aggressive list. But with some, it sort of restrained movement. I was able to draw the dragons and Drogo in and then kill them one at a time. But even with all of that, at the end of the game, I won on points. But there were 2 models left on the table. Everything else was murdered. It was a dragon and Ghost, the direwolf. And that was it. Everything else had been dead. So very bloody game, but very fun. Had a good time.
It do be like that sometimes.
Dragons good. Who knew? Dragons hurt a lot. Dragons breathe fire.
Big lizard scary.
Ow. Ow, ow. But it was fun. It's been a nice way to kind of get more games in and keep playing. And then in between all of that, I finished up printing a vast majority of the Sublight Gravelords force we're working on. My wife has been painting up a ton of zombies. I think she's at 40 now. And I have been painting a unit of Blood Knights that I've just got done doing all like the delicate recess shading and pen washing and sort of trying to make the models look a little more dramatic. So now I just have to go through and paint the bits and bobs, and those will be done. Reins and leather and little gewgaws, the tiny stuff.
Yeah, all the little gewgaws.
There's always so many gewgaws. And then that unit will be done. So, been having a time. Just, I don't know. I feel like the holiday season always gets a little fast, especially when sprinkled in with my wife's birthday.
Yeah, and then like you'll have that awesome period after, like January and February, where it feels almost like forever because of the snow.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you get way more done than you actually get done, but it feels better.
Bring on that season. Can't wait. The hobby season, where we just kind of lock ourselves inside and have a winter project. And there might be some mention of that in this episode. But that does beckon. Wargaming Santa.
Wargaming Santa.
Dude, John. All right, John. So Santa Claus, he's very real. We will not be debating the topic. There are no notes.
Yeah.
Now, Wargaming Santa, though, might be a tad different. But assuming we're on the nice list, which is very debatable.
Especially for me. I'm a wretched goblin, man.
God, you really are. You like a Skaven that I pulled out of a dumpster and then forcibly befriended. And now I'm just making you people. Oddly, your clothes didn't have to change much. So, Wargaming Santa, assuming we're on the nice list, what would you put on your list for next year? Like, what do you want out of Wargaming? What do you want Santa to wrap up, put in a box, tuck it under your tree, eat your milk and cookies, and then leave in payment for?
A dad.
I got one in a box you could borrow.
No, so like daddy issues the army, which I know is coming anyways in January, but it's world leaders, right?
I don't know.
And,
there are a lot of potential armies that could have fallen into that, if I'm being honest, but
well, it's true. Like most of Warhammer is just daddy issues. But like world leaders and also 10th edition. So like those two things have to be combined in my head right now, because like the reality is like, yeah, world leader is going to come out in January and their rules are going to be obsolete maybe before they even release, not because of 10th edition, but because of FAQs. And then we're going to have a whole new edition.
yes.
By my expectation is like August, September.
I think they might start earlier than that just because of logistics, but
Maybe July.
yeah. Summertime will
So,
be the
like-
big Warhammer release.
So I just want to have a painted, usable army. I want to get a bunch of the new models by the time the new edition's out. Like, I'm still going to try to play games with them as I can. But I'm assuming that the design implementation that they go with for the 9th edition book will carry over into the 10th edition book. Like, yeah, there's probably going to be a bunch of rules that go away, but like the core of how the army plays isn't going to change too much. So I'm just going to start getting used to that again, because that's the same thing that happened with Thousand Suns, right? Same thing that happened with Death Guard. Their army rules change from edition to edition, but like the core fundamental design doesn't.
Yeah, I get that. It's just, I don't know. It's an unsteady time period because you're not sure exactly how deep they're going to cut when it comes
That's
to
true.
the changeover. Especially, are they going to nuke all the books or not? It's still up in the air. And I have split feelings on it, and I don't know. I feel very uncertain about Warhammer until they tell us what the plan is.
Yeah, and like, it's not great, but I'm just gonna try to be excited about it regardless, because I can't stop a new edition from coming out. I can't stop them from releasing more rules, but I can just choose what I play with and what I don't. Which is overall what I'm probably just gonna do going forward. Like, if they want to keep releasing seasons, if it makes sense for me and my play group, and we all decide we want to play it, cool. Otherwise, whatever.
What's your favorite model they've released for the new book?
For World Eaters?
Yeah. Well, they're releasing. They've revealed them all, though.
Honestly, it's just Angron. Like, I like all the models. They're all cool. The 8-pounder neat looking. But Angron looks amazing.
I mean, he really is like a colossal, roided up bloodthirster.
He looks like an angry dog, which is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is amazing. I want it. And also, like, with World Eaters, I'm probably also going to print some Khorne Demons, or like Khorne Demon stand-ins to like go with them. And I also have like Khorne Demons from like GW plastic Khorne Demons from years of playing Chaos. So I have plenty of Khorne flavored mayhem to throw at your Tau / squats / Blood Angels.
Hell yeah. I'm ready to kill him with all factions.
I have hands, and that's it. Like a no guns, only hands. I have a little gun.
Maybe angry.
Like a little gun, big hands.
Don't look at my big hands. Maybe like an angry prayer or two. That would be cool.
Yeah, there's been no rumored leak of them, so I think that might be something reserved for a later model range. Because like it's pretty obvious that the model range being released for 9th edition is a like broken up version of what they wanted to release.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably more models coming later, which is fine. Like, that's just how logistics works nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm getting some.
Yeah, it's a thing. But I don't know. Like, I don't think they're going to get prayers like the AOS version, where it is side, sort of orthogonal to like magic casting, and it has its own rule set. I think instead they're just going to put like prayer flavored stuff as abilities on hero war scrolls. I beseech the blood god to give you bonuses to do, rip skulls out of bodies. And then buffs.
I really like the blood tide system that's been rumored, where like every time a unit dies, you get points, and you spend those points on stuff. Which is very, very cool.
It's great in Age of Sigmar.
And I'm really glad they're adding a stratagem for whenever a character kills another character, you can get more blood type points by using a stratagem.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just top notch.
I think it adds an interesting sort of incentive to mitigate unfavorable outcomes. Like in AOS, like I've played Khorne players, and sometimes I'll kill a unit and they're like, "Aw, my unit died." But ooh, blood tide. Like,
it also gives you a reason to bring more units that are chaff. Like, if you look at the current roster of what's being rumored, like the Jackals look like a nonsense unit that you do not want to bring. Like, they are chaff, melee chaff in an army full of like really good combat units, right?
Full of giant melee hammers, yeah.
Yeah, and like especially if the World Eaters berserkers, like rumored rule of when they get shot at, they get to move is true.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just bring a ton of berserkers, right? But I think that with the blood tithe points, you probably want to bring some jackals too, to just move up, screen up, especially if they have scout move or can get a scout move of any sort. Like, make your opponent have to deal with these like turds that they don't want to.
Yeah, they got to shoot the thing that they don't want to shoot in order to, charge your big stuff, your big threats.
Yeah. I think bringing like maybe 3 10-man squads of those and then like 3 10-man squads of berserkers becomes infinitely terrifying.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Just a wave of melee monster.
Scary as hell. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that book comes out. And like the leaks obviously have been nonstop for a while now. So now I want it to be here. But I mean, we're probably only a couple weeks out. So you might get your Santa list rolling. Although like having a painted army obviously is going to take a while.
Yeah. But like we can start the theory crafting, we can start the like discussions, we can start playing games with it. It'd be a good time.
Yeah, fully agreed.
I gotta get a corn shirt. I just gotta get a bright red shirt. And I gotta go buy a white shirt and cover it in fake blood. Yeah, that's what I gotta do.
You got to get a white shirt and then go to a guar show.
Yes.
And then that's your corn shirt.
Yes. I also need to put like cybernetic stimulants into my brain that make me really angry all the time.
I don't know about that one there, Chief. But
oh, okay.
Okay,
cool.
You do.
I'll put that one back.
Too much. I like where your spirit's at. Too much. It's like shoving gas station energy pills into your cerebellum. Just not a good idea. Terrible idea. Some would say the worst idea. God.
Well, what about you? What's your first? Santa, please.
Santa. For me, what I would like to see next year in the hobby is I would love to see Star Wars Legion get a whole bunch of support and love.
Ooh, same.
Same? Was that on your list?
That was on my list.
Okay,
it's on my list.
It's like I want that in general, but especially in the announcement to Shatterpoint, the feeling in the community has been really uneasy. For those who don't know, Shatterpoint is a game that was recently announced by the same company that makes Star Wars Legion. Star Wars Legion is a war game, sort of like Warhammer, but for Star Wars models. And this same company is releasing a second game that is also Star Wars models, but skirmish and in a slightly different scale from everything they've shown us, to where you couldn't use your same Legion models with that game. Like, they want you to buy new models, and it's sort of like they're competing with themselves, and the community is a little concerned that they might be trying to sunset Legion in order to just focus on their precious little baby Shatterpoint. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that take, but I understand why people are very nervous. So, like, one, I would like Star Wars Legion to get more love just because it's a great game, and I like when great games get more fun stuff. But two, I think especially in the wake of Shatterpoint being announced, it would be even better to get releases and a lot of support, and a commitment to support the game, so that people who are currently very, very scared can have a little bit of confidence that their game isn't going to get nuked, so that the company could double dip on selling the same freaking characters again. Like, that would just be great.
Yes. But also, like, with the announcement of more units and more stuff, it has resparked my interest in Star Wars Legion, because I did not fully commit before, and I'm feeling the Star Wars again and would like to play. I just have to fully commit onto a faction and go.
Mm-hmm.
Which I am currently torn between playing Bastards or just playing Clones.
Clones. I love Clones. Clones is the best damn thing Star Wars ever did.
I agree. Like, I really love Clones. Like, when I think about the stuff that I really loved about Star Wars, right, when I was younger, I was like, oh man, like Jedi, they're okay. Like I like the original trilogy, it's pretty cool. But then like I grew up with the prequels. I'm not saying they're good, but like the clones are great. And then like Star Wars Clone Wars has great characterization, and Republic Commando is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it's
And
still my favorite Star Wars game of all time, period.
and like the Karen Travis books of Republic Commando, very good.
Oh my god, that whole trilogy's fire. It's my favorite
And
Star Wars novels.
And she also wrote a bunch of Halo novels, and she also wrote a bunch of Gears of War novels. It turns out all three of those things are things I like. All of them are related. I think I'm just going to play clones. Like,
We could be clone brothers.
finally, we can play a faction together. We are normally diametrically opposed, but in this, we grasp our hands together like Predator and look at each other and go, brother.
And then get killed in a galaxy that can never accept or love us.
Yes.
Uh,
I did. Grasping hands with a clone. I too didn't think I'd see 30.
I too was forced into violence at an early age. It sucks, bro. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible system. Like, I know you haven't dove in, but it's really good. And I think if they play their cards right, this could be their Warhammer that they support for many years to come. Like, it just could.
And like we've talked about before on the show, I think another good point there is the price point for Star Wars Legion is much lower
It is.
than Warhammer. And it is a IP that is more recognizable. There is more content. Like, it is a game that can be very popular. And it is much easier to get someone into Star Wars Legion just off the premise of they know what it is, as opposed to Warhammer.
Yeah, they've watched a movie or a TV show or read a book that has already got them interested. That's invaluable when it comes to trying to get new players into the hobby.
Yes.
And like a single box of guys is at $70. So that also helps. Especially for like
Absolutely.
younger kids trying to just like get it on birthday presents or like allowance money over time or whatever.
Well, like, there was a time where Warhammer had an active like kid audience, right? Like, that's where I came from in the hobby, because it was manageable back when. It isn't anymore, and I think what takes that place is Star Wars Legion. Like, I just think that Star Wars Legion is the game that if you're going to get kids into wargaming, it's what you should do. They likely, like, if a kid is interested in wargaming, they're likely into Star Wars, because that's just how that is for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy for them to just pick characters they like from their favorite TV shows and movies, and then play them on the table with, you know, their friends, or maybe like some adults that want to play, like help them get used to playing games, as opposed to spending $600 on Warhammer stuff. And we can talk about like, oh, well, 3D printing makes Warhammer cheaper. Yeah, but when you're like fucking 7,
Yeah.
or like 8, you're not gonna 3D print a Blood Angels army. Like, you're gonna buy a box of dudes, get really excited about it, build them and paint them, and you're gonna have a great time. And that's not manageable with 40K, and it's very manageable with Star Wars Legion.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. And if, I don't know, it's a weird situation because currently now, like, Shatterpoint and this are both owned by AMG. AMG made Shatterpoint in-house. Like, it's Marvel's Crash Protocol with the Star Wars stuff. And it's kind of their baby. But Legion, they were handed. It was made by another company. They got bought out. And then that whole game system was put in their lap. So, like, I know it wasn't the thing that they made, but honestly, it has potential to do the long haul. You've got a bunch of more models you could put in here. You've got a ton of other factions you could put in here. And more Star Wars stuff is coming out all the time. There's going to be releases till the end of days.
And I think that
you don't fumble it here.
And I think there's a big opportunity there for them as well. Like, some people might hate this as a concept. For them to have Shatterpoint be the smaller skirmish game that exists.
Mm-hmm.
and like people have a lot of fun with, similar to like Kill Team in 40K. And then their army game is Legion, which it kind of already is, but they up the unit levels in Legion, like make them bigger, make them more epic, make them a bigger game on the table, which will help differentiate between the two and keep like an interest there for the skirmish game that's more like Marvel Crisis Protocol, which I'm still going to play, by the way. Like, that sounds cool as fuck. And having Star Wars Legion be like another 25% of model on table and play. Maybe streamline the activation stuff a little bit more for a larger game, but like, I think it's doable.
Yeah, I want this thing to do well. And also next year, apparently Ewoks are releasing, and I'm going to ruin people's days with a little teddy bear army.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Like, I
Brilliant.
and I don't really care if they're super good. In fact, if they're absolute dog turds, if they're just trash, mechanically speaking, even better. Because when I do get wins with Ewoks, it will be all the sweeter if they're terrible. All right, John. What's next up on your Santa list?
My Santa list? You want to know what's next up on my Santa list?
I mean, that's why I asked.
What more I want? Okay. Cool. Shit. I guess I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready this far.
We just learned your number 2 was Legion.
Yeah. I'm kidding. I know what I want. I want more Song of Ice and Fire. They've released a new faction in the Martells. They've released like new units all the time. They keep leaking more and more. It's very, very good, but I want even more. Like, it is a fun and good game, and I want to see Simon make more stuff for it. And I want to play more game, and I want more people to show an interest, because it is a very, very good game.
Yeah.
I cannot put... We've done so many episodes about it, and I think we're going to keep doing even more. Like, it is...
I can functionally guarantee there will be more.
Yes.
We still haven't even done faction focuses.
Yeah, like the armies are engaging and fun. The mechanics are simple but also deep. Like, the game itself is a good time. And I can't always say that about other war games. And like, I don't think I've ever played a game of A Song of Ice and Fire where I stepped away from it going, I don't know what I would have done different. Like, there's always something that could have been done. A play that could have been slightly changed.
Yeah, or even just ordering. Like, there are a ton of ordering options in that game. And sometimes I look at my matches and go, man, like, there are 3 instances where I could have ordered my turn better. Well,
Yes.
Gonna learn from that.
And like, I think the game not only has like much larger future potential, but I think it might push, like with the House of Dragon, I think it might push the game to broaden its scope beyond just like the one portion of the history, which is what I would prefer. Like, if they would just open it all up and be like, full nonsense. If it exists in Game of Thrones, it can exist on the table.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out. It's fantasy. Have a good time. Because I think that's the only thing that really holds it back, is that the world of Westeros is kind of like hard to make a game for, because of how low fantasy it is. Like, you can't have a bunch of different creatures, you can't have a bunch of different stuff, but it's clear that that setting is getting bigger by HBO, and they can capitalize on that in the game. I just think that's doable.
God, could you imagine a model for the giant dragon from House of the Dragon?
Yes, I can.
What if it was
Plus
like a
Stormcast Eternals?
like what if it was like a big 4 horseman unit plate, but with one mini in the middle? One colossal mini that big. That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Well, now I'm gonna be sad if I don't get it.
Yes, sad. Very sad. I want to see like a Targaryen force on the table that isn't around the Dothraki and like Daenerys. I think that'd be cool.
I mean, you could come out with Rhaenyra or Daemon as models, and then put them on the table with like Targaryen guard and Targaryen elites.
Rhaenyra is so toxic, but my God.
Yeah, you could do like all of the reds. You could put out some of the greens. You could put out like a Lord Corlys sea snake army. I think people would absolutely eat that up.
Yes, absolutely. And plus the new Jon Snow spinoff, like who knows what we're gonna get from that?
I don't know, but I can't wait. I want more.
Like there's stuff that aren't in the books that are probably gonna be put up there. Like that's gonna be very exciting.
And I mean, we don't even have a White Walker faction yet.
We could with the Jon Snow release.
I know. I mean, George apparently said that there's just not enough to make a White Walker army, and like George, you're so wrong.
Well, A, he's wrong, and B, if there's not enough to make an army in this silly like wargaming faction, how is there going to be enough for them to do an entire new spin-off show of him going north above the wall? Like, there's going to be something.
Yeah, I think it's nonsense. You could entirely make that army, and I think it'd be cool as hell. So yeah, I think that game has a long runway. So I'm with you. I want it to get more because I mean, for people who have listened to our Thanksgiving episode, we both adored it this year, and it was wonderful for a hobby group. And I'm hoping it's wonderful for the hobby group next year as we continue to play the absolute bejeezers out of it. I mean,
yeah, I just need to get back into painting my Greyjoys. Once I get back from Ohio, much more painting better. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to paint the Greyjoys. I've got a lot of Night's Watch done. I've still got more to do, but yeah, it's a thing. So, especially after being in this league, I'm astounded by how well someone like me, who has barely played the game, can do even against experienced opponents. It's heartening, and it just makes me like the rule set more. So, like, all the best for that. Every release I look forward to. Especially if we get like a new 2023 card update. Really like that.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So for me, the next thing on my Santa list is a little broad. But if I had to like really consider what I want from Santa for next year, it would be more opportunities to play games with people, if I'm being honest.
Same.
Like this year was rough, and kind of kicked the crap out of our play group in multiple ways. So if you really want to know more, like again, Thanksgiving episode, it gets a little heavy, so go into it knowing that. But like for multiple reasons, our play group has kind of got our asses kicked. So I want next year to be calmer so that we could get together without it being a titanic Herculean effort. We really spend a lot of time hobbying and trying to prep these minis to play games, and it's just a shame when we don't get to play very many of them because life gets in the way. So if Santa could bring me anything in that big red bag, I would really like it to be that. I just want to be able to more consistently play games with people. Whether that's like having people come into town like once a month, or like twice a month or something, or go out of town or whatever. Just have a rather pseudo-consistent schedule to play games.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of benefits in our area to make that happen. Like we're working on making almost like a cool circuit for Kentucky of like getting games in, which is going to be very useful. I think we're planning on trying to do some more events next year. Hammer through that the next couple of like weeks and months, figuring out how to do that in the future. And I think that's where we're going at goal wise for getting in more games. Because I agree with you, Joe. It has to be a priority for me. Like I have to get in some of these games. Like I'm an old man now. I'm not young and like crazy out partying. Like I just want to sit around and I want to play Plastic Army Man.
Yeah, I just want to have a few drinks. Have a chat, maybe eat some decent food, grill out or something, and roll some dice, move some little minis around. It sounds great, but like it's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, and like it's one of the things where you just like you push it off to the side very easily and be like, "Oh, I got other shit that's more important that's got to get done." But like it has to like come from somewhere. And it's gonna. I think we're both just gonna make it work.
I don't think we have a choice. Like, we've just got to force it, which might
Yeah.
feel weird, but I think it's the answer.
Yeah, like we just gotta play more game. But speaking of more game, I have a bonus one.
Oh?
Yeah. So there's this game that we talked about early last year and late the year before that I have recently started looking at again, just purely aesthetically,
Uh-huh.
because I've had more releases. And it's Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings.
Okay, yeah. I'm familiar with this here game.
I know very little about how the rule set works. But I have heard them, like, Doug from 2 Plus Stuff keeps releasing stuff about them. And they keep releasing models, so they've got to be doing something right. And I think that we're going to have to give that a look. And beyond that, there's Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, we want to play more games. But I think that one of the biggest things we can get in more games with is skirmish games. These smaller games. These games that don't require as much like investment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be what I'm going to try to work on more of in this next year. Is like getting stuff like Marvel Crisis Protocol, Shatterpoint, Star Wars Legion. Like, I've limited my Warhammer to like World Eaters, Gene Seether Cult, Slaves of Darkness, Skaven. Like, I have my factions down for that, I think, from now on. And now it's time to branch out and just get a bunch of different games, bunch of different systems, play some Silver Bayonet here and there, just like get the whole rigmarole of wargaming up in here.
It's funny you say that, because my third one is I want to try a new game and get wrapped up in it. Because, like, I think one of the big hits of this year was me stumbling across A Song of Ice and Fire. And, like, we really enjoyed getting wrapped up in that. And I think, especially if it's a smaller game, that there's room in there to like, find another one that's really cool. So for me, like, I've had the Lord of the Rings miniature game as an option, or also Infinity, or Star Wars Legion, because, like, currently I'm the only one in the group who plays it. Like, I think any of those could be absolute bangers. But I have seen for Conquest, it's not a skirmish game, but like I did see that Doug's releasing more stuff for that, and I'm not opposed. But like, the only faction that appeals to me isn't out yet, so I'm in a weird spot there. It's that Free Cities one where, like, it's Greek mythology town.
Oh yeah.
Now we're talking.
We'll have a great time with that. I mean, Conquest is probably going to be something like later on in the year, but like, I think new game wise, I think Star Wars Legion. I think you and I would have a fucking blast playing Star Wars Legion together.
Yeah.
Like we'll sit there, play Duel of Fates in the background as like we both just go.
Yeah.
And like us both playing clones against each other, just going just like the simulations over and over again.
Pew, 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 pew.
And then, something like Marvel Crisis Protocol, I think we could get heavily into. It was like, you love X-Men, I love X-Men. We can both, fist fight each other.
I don't know. They're like, MCP seems cool, but it just, there's something about it that makes me a little hesitant, and I can't put my finger on what it is. But I'm open to ideas.
I mean, it might just end up being Shatterpoint. It could just be any slew of game. And I think that's the benefit of nowadays in wargaming. Because I remember not too long ago, like, when your options were Warhammer, Bolt Action, or Warmahordes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, Warmahordes kind of sucks.
See, I missed that whole phase, so I have no opinion.
Like, Warmahorde's great, but like the new Warmahorde stuff, not great.
Mm-hmm. I thought initially they were selling STLs and it seemed cool, but then they weren't. I'm like, oh, that's much less cool all of a sudden.
And And then apparently they went to Gen Con with 3D printed models that weren't fully cured and were trying to hand them out to people. And I was just like, my guy.
What are you doing?
What, you silly. But like, that's not worth $60. That's like 30 cents worth of resin.
Good God. But yeah, like I think if it's a smaller game, our playgroup has room for another system.
Yes.
Like I just think it does. So like an Infinity or a Legion or MCP or something of that scale, I would love to get wrapped up in it. I just would. And like obviously, like there's many people involved, so I'm not sure what game it would end up being, or even what it might end up being, but could be a thing. And I think that would be great, because if we could have something that gives us as much fun as A Song of Ice and Fire, holy crap. What a year. Like, especially if we make it a priority to play more games. Just like what a year it could be. And if I was going to ask Santa for anything, like, that'd be a hell of a combo to ask for. Just saying.
Yes. Wargaming Santa. Bring us many treat.
I've been good. But for people out there, if you're on the nice list, if you're on the naughty list, what are you doing, you degens? You can't. How dare you?
Hit me up.
Do not. Can't have these degens talking to each other. But if you're on the naughty list, I don't want to hear from you. But if you're on the nice list,
we can revolt. It's fine.
No revolting in Santa Land.
Yes.
No revolt.
I don't have to follow your fucking rules, Joseph. Let's go.
I didn't make these rules. Like, you think I'm Santa? I don't make the rules. We inherited a system, John. We live in a society.
I'm going to make an elven revolt, and you're not going to know what to do about it.
Like little toy elves?
Yeah, little toy elves. We're going to revolt. We're taking down this big red bastard.
That should have been a war game we put in that episode where we were like idea fishing war games. God, that'd be good. But
holiday war game,
yeah,
great.
yeah. What a blast! But for people out there who are on the nice list, what is on your wish list for this next year? I'd love to hear it. Like what you're hoping to get for next year, and I hope whatever you want, you get it. You can reach out to us at social media. It's always open. And of course, as always, if you really want to go above and beyond, like, rate, share, you know the stuff. But for now, that's been all of our opinions. Bonafide, Kentucky Fried. We'll see you all in the next one, and happy holidays. No revolts.